Hello again. In this video and the upcoming videos, I'll try to explain to you what is RDF Schema and about a little bit about OWL, the web ontology language. Now, these will be 3, 4, or maybe 5 videos. I'll try to keep them short so you don't get bored. But hopefully, if you understand what exactly these things are, what an RDF schema is, and what OWL does, and why it's there, and why it makes sense, hopefully this will help you even understand semantic web and understand RDF even better and even more. Now, you must have heard me mention the word vocabulary before. You must have read it in the book. Now, what exactly is a vocabulary? Well, in the semantic web, a vocabulary is a set of terms stored using a standard format that people can reuse. So basically, a vocabulary is just a set of terms that is stored and saved somewhere so people can use it again and again. Usually, a vocabulary of property names, so usually these are like property names, they are put together, they have their own namespace, and they are made available. So they will be put together in a file, usually in RDF format, of course, and they will have their own namespace, so people can actually use them, so people can actually make use of them with sort of other sets of data. Yes, so remember the namespace we used before, the prefix, the URIs and stuff, that it will have its own URI so people can actually use it. Now, of course, we can use existing vocabularies of properties, so these are made available, as we said before, and they have their own namespaces and URIs. But where do we find them, and what do they look like? Where do we find them? We need to try to find them, search for them, ask experts where we can find existing vocabularies. I believe there is actually a website that lists all the available vocabularies. I'm not sure what it is, but I believe it is there, so maybe you can search around and maybe ask someone who has more experience. But usually vocabularies are stored using RDF schema and OWL standards, yes? And these are nothing but triples. So even the RDF schema itself is a group or a set of triples, and OWL ontologies are usually sets of triples. So as we can run Sparkle queries, for example, against RDF data, against, for example, a turtle file, or against RDF data in general, we can run Sparkle queries against RDF schemas and against OWL ontologies, because they are themselves groups and sets of triples. So the RDF schema is actually RDF vocabulary description language, RDF schema. So imagine it's actually a description language for vocabularies. Yes, I hope that makes sense. So RDF schema is a description language for vocabularies. Yeah, they describe vocabularies. Now, it gives people a way to describe vocabularies, as you can see. So now what happens is we describe these vocabularies with RDF, again using RDF, using the ideas of triples. Now, because they describe vocabularies, so we have data about data. Our vocabulary is a data, yes, it's a set of terms, and then we describe that vocabulary, or we describe that data, so we have data about data, i.e. metadata. So RDF schema is usually metadata, and this metadata is usually available for our access, or it can be accessible using Sparkle, as we can access data itself, as we can access RDF data, turtle format, and turtle files, and other formats. I hope that makes sense. So it's actually data about data. It's a data about vocabulary, so that's why it's called metadata. Now, we have, for example, a very famous one called Dublin Core. It's a standard set of basic metadata terms. So the Dublin Core, we usually use it as in our. You must have seen it, by the way, in one of the turtle files provided by the book. We use the DC prefix for DC for Dublin Core. It is actually a standard set of basic metadata terms. So in there we can find some metadata terms that we can use to describe our own sort of vocabularies. Yes. Now, Dublin Core is actually this is not the Dublin in Ireland, by the way. This Dublin somewhere in the United States. Let's have an example, or let's have a look at some examples. In this video, we'll have one example only, which is this file here from the the examples provided by the book. Let me just remind you of the book. So this is the book we're using. You can go to sample code and you will find loads of example files. The one we're using is EXO41, which is this one here. I'm sorry, not 41. I think it's 42 rather than 41. I think it's 42 rather than 41. Yes, it's 42. So that should be 42, not 41. Yes. Now, what it does, as I said, it provides a set of basic metadata terms that we can use to describe our data. Yes. Now, what we're going to do is have a look at the file, and the file, it contains some triples from the RDF schema vocabulary description of the Dublin core. So we're going to have a look at some triples from the RDF schema vocabulary description of the Dublin core. So we have now a schema about the Dublin core itself. Yes, I hope that makes sense. About the Dublin core itself. Enough talking. I have the file open here. It's actually 42, as I said, not 41. That should be 42, not 41. If you have a look here, of course that's a comment, and we have a prefix DC the usual way, with a colon and the angle brackets and the dot. Another prefix RDF, another prefix RDFS for our RDF schema. Now we're trying to describe the property creator. Now this creator here is part of the Dublin core set, yes, or set of of terms about metadata. It can be used, for example, to indicate who is the creator of a book, who is the author, maybe the creator of a book, or who is the creator of a film, a movie, a recording. So you can use it, for example, to describe me as the creator of this video, for example. Yes. And now, because it's a triple, so we have a property called type. It's coming from RDF, from this URI, and it's of type property. So what we're saying here, or what it is saying here, is actually creator has a property called type, and the value is actually a property. So this is actually a property. In fact, property is a class. So we're saying here that creator is some sort of a class, or has a type of class property. This one here, the A, the small case a, it can be used even in our Sparkle queries, is the same thing as RDF type, same thing as RDF colon type, but we can use we can say a, just to, in plain English we can say DC creator is a property, is an RDF property, and remember the property is actually a class in the RDF here. And then from RDFS now, because remember RDFS, the RDF schema now, if we go back to the definition, it's actually a description language. Yes, so in there we have the label which we used before, for example, to just add some label, one or more labels, and then we tag it with the English tag, with the language tag, and then we specify the US English, and then we have another property called comment. If you want to add a simple comment, you say just an entity primarily responsible for making the resource and then you can add the English language tag as we did before. And then the author of the book is using the short format, which is where we don't have to repeat the subject, we only repeat the predicate and the object values. Yes, so remember RDFS, the comment property is from RDFS, from the RDF schema, label is from RDF schema, and creator is from the Dublin core set of metadata terms. And here we are having a sort of description of the property creator itself from Dublin core. I'm going to stop here. I know this can be a little confusing, so that's why I'm going to stop here just to make the videos as short as possible, and I'll see you next time.